Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I'm the human Gina. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you very much. And I just want to make sure I say that once in a while because I know there's a lot to listen to out there. There's a lot of information to consume, and we're actually overrun with it. And if you've happened to find this little podcast in this little corner of the internet, that makes me very appreciative. So I know you're here for a reason, as I am. So I thank you for joining me on this incredible journey that I've been recording for the last 2 years. It's nearly the third anniversary of when all of this started. The end of this month, it's now June 8th, 2024. The end of this month will mark 3 years since the beginning of my journey into into the other world of spirituality. And I really wish there was another word than spirituality. It's just so overused. I guess, really, honestly, it's 3 years ago was the first time I was introduced to my true self, the energetic being that inhabits this body, this human body. And I always knew she was there. I just didn't know how to get to her. And looking back at 3 years has been pretty remarkable, and all that I've gone through to get where I am today. And I talk about this in just about every podcast episode that I've done. I talk about this in every article that I've written, including the last one that I posted in May about that I basically refer to as my thesis for living in the human form. It really is kind of remarkable how that article just poured out of me. And honestly, I wrote things that I later went back and read that I really don't. I don't remember writing, and I don't want to sound strange or mysterious, but this is just the power of the intuitive channel, and how my human brain doesn't necessarily need to be on board for what's going on in my life. And it does take a minute or two to catch up, and I've talked about that. But ultimately, this open channel between myself and my true self, my spirit or soul self, is remarkable. And it has taught me trust. It has taught me faith. It has taught me to relax in this life and to truly be present, which is another overused term, but I understand it in a way I never could before. My presence in my life right now is absolute. It's acute. It's remarkable. I'm in a time in my life that I referred to. I don't know if I've spoken about it much specifically, but way back in the day, it feels like over a year ago, probably more than 2 years ago, I was told by my soul team through the tarot readings that were my primary source of communication from my soul team, that I would be needed somewhere for a couple of years. And I'm in that period now. I struggled to understand what it meant until I really settled in and listened to my body, who did take some drastic measures with me, as I talked about in the podcast episode, The Body, where she had to get my attention to change my direction through my energy. And it was kind of like hey, you're not listening. Let me get your attention. And I was shut down. It's just remarkable how effective this connection is, and how when I truly relax and when I truly sit where I am in the presence of what I'm doing, or, and usually it's nothing, it's listening to the birds or just peace and quiet, I really can start to, my brain catches up and I can really understand what's happening to me. And it's truly remarkable. I mean, I am sitting in this life that I've gone through so much in, a lot of pain, abuse, a lot of wonderment, a lot of joy. But I'm sitting at this time where I am meant to be with my daughter and my granddaughter, and that's where I'm needed for 2 years. And truly just enjoying this space between worlds, because I'm still in the quote unquote void, where I'm being electromagnetically upgraded to a crystalline energy, energetic structure. And I know that sounds weird, and these terms were so weird to me in the beginning. I'm like, what are you talking about? It all seems so strange to me. But as my journey over the last 3 years has unfolded, I've been exposed to this material serendipitously, which of course is my soul guiding me, or other beings that I've talked about guiding me towards where the information that I'm meant to understand or to integrate, so I can continue to expand emotionally and mentally as my energetic body expands. And I've just come to understand so much, and how this intuitive channel works is brilliant. And the presence that it has allowed me to settle into in my current life in real time is just, it's so beautiful. And I think this is what we miss, and I missed it through most of my life, is this ability to truly just enjoy where we are in the moment and what's going on. And right now it's my girls. I can just sit with them, and when I I'm laughing with my daughter, I'm holding my granddaughter, and I just sit there and just, all I can think is there's nowhere else on this earth I'd rather be than right here. I don't want to think about the future and what it holds, and there are many, many blessings still coming to me in this lifetime. I don't think about that. I think about where I am right now and the deep contentment that's in my body. Excuse me. And it's just remarkable. I mean, that's the word I'm going to keep using. It's just remarkable how far I have come from a confused and scared woman who didn't know anything other than what was in front of my nose. I didn't know anything other than the pain that I had grown so accustomed to in my life, in the misery and the mediocrity that I had grown accustomed to, and the complacency that sets in, that drowns out everything else. Because once you become complacent, you can't, nothing can reach you, because you've convinced yourself that you're happy and comfortable. And for me, I was not only in an uncomfortable situation, I was in a dangerous situation, not physically, of course, but mentally and emotionally very dangerous situation. And I had no idea that there was anything else out there for me. So living in this presence and that complacency is no longer, doesn't resonate anymore. And I think that, that is just the one thing that if you take away anything from any of that, anything I've said over the last 2 years, it's the fact that, our vibration attracts to us what comes to us, and that we're wholly and 100% responsible for our life experiences. And to make me feel a little bit better about that, I always just remember that this is what my soul signed up for in this lifetime. These were the challenges that she brought with her. This is what she wanted to solve or resolve or overcome in order for her to evolve. So I set up a myriad of challenges, which began with my parents. I chose my parents, and I was, mentally and emotionally abused by my mother, and I was sexually abused by my father. I mean, this was the stage that this play was set up with. Was the beginning, the opening scene. So I followed a path that, was formed by these challenges that I decided to bring into this world. And I walked through this world in complete ignorance of who I was, which is what we do, because the soul doesn't want to remember who she is, because then the human experience would be tainted. I wouldn't want to stay. And I read this earlier on about how in the beginning of the human incarnation that souls would come here for this experience, but then they'd start to feel pain and they'd start to experience adversity, and they'd say, well, I'm getting the heck out of here. And they would create a death scenario, and they would go home, and they'd say, I'm not going back there. What are you nuts? So they decided that they had to erase their memory of who they were, of this ethereal, eternal being, in order to integrate into a human body and have this grounded experience, which includes a lot of adversity and pain and challenge. But that is all meant to be part of the journey, so it can be overcame, and then we can enjoy the fruits of our victories and rise out of the lower frequencies that we had to be in order to have those low vibrational experiences. You hear a diamond can't be formed without immense pressure. I mean, it really is It does work that way. From what I've been told, from what I understand, from what I've learned, and from my own experience, without that darkness, without that pressure, without that adversity, we don't know who we are. We have to be challenged to know what we're capable of. And that really is the point of all of it. And then, to go through all these challenges and adversities and to come out on this other end 3 years ago, where I am in this new world, this void, where I'm being told by my soul team through the tarot primarily that I am to rest, and because a lot is going on under the surface, that I'm going through this reconditioning or this modification of my energetic body, and that it's going to affect me physiologically, mentally, emotionally. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but something I learned during the Gene Keys work that I did early on was about the 7 bodies. And these 7 bodies are like the chakra system. They are in the body. Actually, I wrote this down. I want to make sure I don't do this wrong. Okay. They are 7 bodies, and basically like the chakra system, we have these different engines inside of our body, and they are rooted in different parts of the body that manage different aspects of our elemental life. And then that elemental life is bridged to this human life. So they really are little brains and little bridges to the other side, that when they become coherent or aligned or synchronistically humming, is when our channel to source or our intuitive self really becomes who we are in this world, and is no longer inhibited or blocked by the human ego and mind. And these 7 bodies, there's also 7 bodies, and I didn't know anything about this. And again, I will never call myself an expert on anything. I believe my purpose is to glean as much as I can on a very broad scale, so I can talk about many different subjects without having to spend too much time on any one. And I will say that always, that I'm no expert. I think of the movie, I just brought this up yesterday as an example of something. When I was talking to someone, the movie Slumdog Millionaire, if you've ever seen that movie, it's a remarkable movie. One I really honestly don't know why I ever turned on. It wasn't really a genre that I was interested in, but of course, by serendipity's hand, I did watch it. And here we are years and years later, where it becomes relevant to what I'm experiencing. And in the movie Slumdog Millionaire, this young man who grew up in the slums of India or somewhere in one of those countries, and forgive me, I don't know exactly which one, he grew up in the slums. He was poor and impoverished, and he lived a varied life of experiences. And when he got to a certain point in his life, he had an opportunity to become to go on to a game show, and the game show was basically about trivia. And I don't want to give away too much if you haven't seen it, but basically everything, the young man was, I don't remember if he won or not. Isn't that weird? But I know that he was doing really well in the game because he was up against a bunch of really intelligent people who had book knowledge and information, and who had studied, and he was not expected to do well at all, but he ended up knowing a lot of different things because of the experiences that he had. So he, I don't remember if he won or not. Oh my gosh. But he did really well. And when no one thought he could, and they honestly were suspicious of how he knew the answers that he knew, because how could he? He's just this kid from the slums. But he had learned so much on his journey through his life experiences, that he had gathered this knowledge that became useful in this moment where he was being tested. And that's how I kind of refer to my experience. Like, everything that I've gone through has informed my body and my life as a very diverse set of intelligence. And that's what it is. And it's enhanced by this intuitive channel and by the beings who are guiding me, and their ability to teach me to trust myself, which is what I've gone through over the last 3 years, is energetic reconditioning. I referred to this as getting a new alien tech engine in my body and rewiring. Well, the wiring is no longer needed. It's all telepathic energy. this is what I've been rebuilt with. So my ability to think in broad concepts has just been exponentially expanded. And has facilitated my connection to the cosmos and what I've always known in my body, but it could never again connect to, and my deep connection with the cosmic world. And how many times throughout my life, and now I'm very aware of why I felt this way. I felt very disconnected from the earth and my earth uh, life, my human life. I was always looking up at the sky, wondering why was I here. And I think people who are here on a mission, and I'll refer to myself as a star seed, which is how I've been referred to many times, feel the same way. One of the things is you're always looking up and wondering about the cosmos. I feel like that's my home. And it's funny because I follow a channel on my Instagram account. I think it's NASA. I follow the James Webb Telescope and the Hubble Telescope and another Milky Way channel. And I want to look at the sky, especially the night sky, all the time. And I had a realization the other day that left me in tears because I love looking at the nebula. The pictures of the nebula, like the pillars of creation, the Horsehead Nebula, there's the Spider Nebula, there's oh my gosh, there's so many nebula. And it's just a congregation of gases that make these shapes in the galactic sky. And what I've come to learn and understand through my intuitive channel and the information I'm exposed to is that those are beings, that those shapes, galaxies are beings. They are the first beings. They're not human, but they are beings nonetheless. And so to me, the universe is full of life and not just alien life, which we would refer to as another being who has possibly the same, has a human, or words become useless. I swear to gosh. Other beings that we refer to as aliens who might fly a ship or eat food or live a life. These are beings who are galactic beings. They are energy beings. They are not in a human or a carbon-based form. They are a free-flowing form, like a galaxy or a nebula. And I realized something the other day when I was thinking of the nebula that I looked at a picture of. It was gorgeous oranges and reds and blues, and I could just feel this deep connection with what this ball of gas that I was looking at. And I realized that to me, this is my mother. This is who I refer to as my mother, Sophia, or the universe. This is who I have come to know as the creator. And when I look at nebula, and I get this emotional feeling, that's what I realize that I'm connecting to, is the feeling of home and my mother, the one who created me. Now, I don't believe she created me directly. I think it was indirectly through the gods and goddesses who were here long before us, who had powers that we don't possess for many reasons, and that the ancient civilizations were created by these beings. And our ancient mythology is not, from what I've learned, is not myth. It is a storytelling. And this tells me why I've been so drawn into Greek mythology, and how throughout my life, that has always been something that has just always drawn my attention. There's just so many connections here. But if you look at the sky and you wonder why, if you are interested in mysticism, in the paranormal, in physics, even metaphysics, if you have an interest in those things, there's a good chance that you are also a starseed. There are many, many of us here. And, getting this understanding of who I am and why I'm here is really just help this intuitive channel really, really expand, and to really help me gain this incredible presence in my world right now. I know my life is meant to change sometime soon. And I feel like I feel an energetic pull towards it, like I talked about in the last episode. I feel an energetic alignment through the last dimensional shift that I went through, which was due to the eclipse that we had. I think it was on May 8th. The solar eclipse that we experienced is what the celestial event that brought this energy cycle into the into the earth plane, and me in particular, and many other Libras and Capricorns and Aries primarily were impacted by this energetic cycle. And it was a very powerful one. And I didn't realize it at the time. And when I did the last episode, I gleaned on it. I mentioned it as a possibility, but I did go back and look. And I had many energetic events throughout that period of time before and after that eclipse that were indicators of this dimensional shift that I went through. And what has been happening, and what I really want to talk about today, what's been happening simultaneously with this, but before and after this shift, has been messages that I've been receiving. And I just want to go back a little bit because I'm editing my book right now. I've been writing my book for nearly 3 years now. The very first entry in my book is dated June 24th or 25th. And that was the day that my ex-husband finally left my home. That's the first entry into the book, is that one experience. And that's what started. The book started as just an article about my ex-husband. And then I received a tarot message that said that I would write a book. And I intuitively knew that the article that I had been writing for a week or so would expand into a book. And I didn't know how or why, but I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing. And here we are 3 years later. And I've ended up with a chronicle of everything that I've gone through since the beginning of my awakening. And I do start the book with the article that I wrote about my ex-husband, which is the catalyst, the ground zero, if you will, for my awakening. So I have this incredible document, and I was editing it. I've been editing it. I've been very drawn to editing it the last few weeks. So I've been spending a lot of time on it. And I'm looking back over what I wrote, up to 3 years ago. And it's just remarkable how far I've come. But one thing I remember, or I re-remembered when I was looking at it, is and this will become important when I get to this part of the story, but I read it apart, and this was about 16 months ago, and this corresponds almost exactly with when my granddaughter was born. This is when all this happened. That was another really powerful, energetic event. I detailed this in the episode called Ascension Chaos, where I was going through some really powerful and aggressive ascension symptoms. And they all culminated. They really started right at the birth of my granddaughter, which was a powerful time. My granddaughter is referred to as a golden child, and she is a powerful entity. She's a very large soul, and she brought in a wave of energy with her, and I was deeply impacted by this energy. And all of it. What it does is it the best way I can describe it is it ascends your energy. It helps you, or me at the time. And I talked about how I had more sensitivity to stimuli, food, climate, all those things. I passed out in my daughter's hospital room when I went to see the baby for the first time. I was deeply impacted energetically by this energy cycle that came in when my granddaughter was born. I didn't know it at the time. I honestly didn't realize it till recently, but that's what happened. But back during that time, right at that same time, I had been listening to the tarot readings very frequently. It was about a year and 6 months that I listened to the tarot. And I say listened or viewed. It was on my YouTube channel, and it was a tarot reader that was serendipitously recommended to me by the young lady who exposed me to the Gene Keys material and to the human design. This young woman who was put in my life by my daughter as the person who recommended her to me to help me get ready for this awakening, which she absolutely did. And then she very kindly left, and she wasn't needed anymore, and she went away just to continue on her own life. And I will always cherish her for that. So during this time period, I was viewing the tarot messages, and they were up to 4 or 5 a day. I would just, every time I would look, I would see a new message, and I would pick a pile that I was drawn to, and I would get another set of messages. And what had started to happen in the last few months of me listening or viewing the tarot is I started to get repeating messages, were just repeating and repeating. They were repeating about my soulmate, John, from New Zealand. They were repeating about the fact that I would move across the world and leave my babies to New Zealand. They repeated about the abundance of money that someday I would be blessed with because I would share it. and so many other things that I had been told through the tarot that I would experience in this lifetime, that my soul wanted to leave true love for the end of this lifetime, and not the end per se, like the last few years. I may live to be 100, I don't know. But for this last chapter, or one of the last chapters, she wanted true love to be uh, experienced for the first time. And that's why she arranged my higher self, Gina, for this twin flame union in this lifetime with John, for both of us to have this incredible true love together. And we have this other mission together, which is to help heal and protect the planet. And I detail the mission in my article, Resurrection of the Goddess, which is on my website. And you can read it for free on my website, or you can download it for free. It's a remarkable document, but I detail what we're meant to do together there. And I just want to, and in my book, of course, which is even more detail. But during that time, the readings became a very important part of my everyday life. They were my daily handholding. And I started to feel insecure about how often I was listening. I started to feel like, well, the messages are repeating over and over again the same things. I absolutely trust what's meant for me. I don't have any doubts about anything. And I just realized kind of in a moment that I probably don't need to look at as many of these. So I pulled back, and I didn't look as often. It was only every few days instead of every day, multiple times. And after a couple more weeks, I started to realize, well, wait, I don't think I need these at all anymore. And what I did that evening is, as I was getting into bed, I said out loud, as I always talk to my soul team, I said, I don't think I need the messages anymore. You can stop them. I'm good. You can take off the training wheels. I feel good about what I'm doing. You can leave me to manage this on my own. And I appreciate everything that you've done. And I tell them every day how much I appreciate them. And I said, please feel free to stop the messages. So for the next few days, and I'm looking back at what I wrote, I wouldn't have remembered this otherwise. I avoided my video channel because I didn't want to be tempted to look at a reading if one should be there. So I avoided it for a few days, and when I did go back on, it's usually when I'm eating my lunch. I'm at home and I'm eating my lunch and I watch a video. I follow a lot of comedy channels like the Carol Burnett Show, and I love the clips from that. Saturday Night Live, I love the clips from that. The Graham Norton Show, some other ones. And I love to watch The Voice and those talent competition clips too, because I love to watch people see their dreams come true. It's just something I enjoy. So I watch one of those two types of things usually. But on this day, a few days later, there was another reading, and I thought, don't look at it. You don't need it anymore. And then I had, in a moment of really deep curiosity, I just clicked open the reading. And I looked for a reading that I was drawn to, and I didn't feel really drawn to anyone. And that's how I know which pile to pick. 1 out of 5 piles, the one that you feel drawn to, and the reader will tell you that, is the one you pick, and that's where your message will likely come from. Well, I picked one, and then the message opened, and I immediately knew that I felt disconnected, that nothing resonated at all. And I instantaneously knew in my heart that, okay, my soul team heard me and they shut down this channel, completely shut it down. I listened for another minute or so and I clicked it off, almost a little embarrassed that, I didn't trust, and I checked, and oh my gosh, of course, it's not there. So I went about my day, and a couple of days later on the same video channel, another video popped up, not from any of the sources that were the tarot sources, but it was a video channel of people or a community who are looking towards the 5-dimensional. And these may or may not be channelings from beings from other star systems who are letting us know, us humans, what's coming. So this is another thing that I watch on occasion. And on this day, there was a video that had an unrelated title that I was drawn to open. And I opened the video, and it was about, so amazing, about how not to worry, telling me, the reader or the listener, not to worry that the guidance has been cut off, that you are doing fine and you no longer need the daily handholding. That means you've graduated from the need from the guidance, and to feel good about yourself and to know that you're on the right track. So this was the validation that I received from my soul tribe a few days after I asked them to stop sending me the messages. And from there, I unfollowed the tarot channels, and I did see them sporadically in my algorithm, which happens. And I just wasn't curious or drawn anymore to open them. And before long, they were gone altogether. This is how that tarot support ended, by me exclaiming to my soul tribe that I no longer need this, and I appreciate it so much. You've gotten me so far, but I think I'm good. And they shut off the channel. And that was about it was actually a year and 6 months ago. I just looked at it. So here we are a year and 6 months later, and I have been flying solo, kinda. And what I say by kinda is it's very difficult when you're in this clarity, this frequency, this connection, this connectivity with source, to not, it's difficult to miss the serendipitous guidance that I receive everywhere else. It's everywhere. It's in, I might see a sign on the side of the road that resonates and tells me something that maybe I was thinking about. It might be a confirmation or a validation, or a hint of advice. There may be a conversation that I overhear, that something resonates with me, and I take it home with me and I integrate it, and it helps me keep expanding. It may be, like a good example is, I listened to an interview with Barbara Marciniak, who was a channel for the Pleiadians, who wrote a series of books that were channelings of theirs. And she was talking about healthcare, and how, this is the author talking, being interviewed, talking about how she gave up healthcare because she didn't need it. She was connected to the earth. And I was getting ready to go off of what I had enjoyed for a year and a half, which was my payout from my business. And it was ending, and I was getting to the point where I might have to get a job. And I've talked about this many times, so you guys know. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for income. So I was looking for ways to cut costs, and so I can, live as inexpensively as possible, comfortably, but inexpensively as possible. And one of the things that resonated with me a day or two later was that why am I still thinking about the fact that she gave up her healthcare? Why is this still in my body? And I realized, oh, I can give up my healthcare. I can give up this expense of $350 a month that I don't use, that it's only there for emergencies, and I don't need it. I know I don't. I'm on a destined path. I've been told many times that I'm protected, that I don't have to worry. I'm connected to this earth, who is my mother and healer. I don't need it. And I cut it off last October, and I haven't paid for it since. So that's the type of guidance that I receive, even though it's not a tarot reading. Another very powerful source is social media. And honestly, I never really noticed it before, because I was so entranced or entrenched or embraced with the tarot method of communication. So I didn't really notice these other ones until the tarot went away, and then I started to notice all these. Well, social media, and I can tell you, for the last year, I don't really remember much beyond that, I would get messages of validation, just kind of like, you're on the right track, keep going, you're doing great, you did great, and all of these messages about how evolved I've become, how I've embraced myself as an aging woman, how I have really come into my power, or my essence, and embraced my gifts, and how I've elevated and expanded. All of these things, these really beautiful messages, and I didn't think to save them early on, because honestly, it didn't click right away. But that has happened on and off for the last year. For the last 6 months, since December of 2023, and I talked about this in the last episode, I've been receiving messages of love. And I say these are from the higher self of my twin flame, my future soulmate, John, because they're love messages. And I've talked about this a little bit. The messages range from anywhere from a very short statement about love with a high vibrational partner, and how a high vibrational man is looking for a high vibrational woman, and how love is going to be so different in this frequency, and how I don't have to worry about being taken advantage of, or gaslighted, or lied to, as I lived for 24 years with my ex-husband, that I can let go of all of that muscle memory, of that of this heartbreak that I went through and before my ex-husband, and how I am free of all of that energy because of this ascension. And I needed to really start to envision with my heart and mind a true love in the higher frequencies. And that's what these messages were doing. They were having the effect of changing my reality when it comes to love and partnership and even sex and sexuality, which is one of my core wounds. Of course, I came into this world wanting to experience sexual wounding, and boy, did I get an experience, first with my father, and then my first boyfriend, and then I was relieved I was in a timeout from all that when I met my first husband and had my child, which was a time that was meant to be free of that. And then, of course, my ex-husband, I experienced that kind of on full tilt with a man who hid himself and ended up telling me at the end of our relationship that he didn't feel love and that all he cared about was sex after 24 and a half years together. So I have a wound here that I can intellectually reconcile. I can even emotionally reconcile, but I cannot physically reconcile. My root chakra is not healed because of this wounding. And in order for me to achieve this healing, it has to be with the right partner, because sexuality is the instrument that will be healed through. So this is just so extraordinary. So these messages are telling me basically that I'm going to have this healing. I'm going to have this empathetic, compassionate, loving, patient, present partner. And I'm going to experience sexuality in a way that will be transcendent, that will allow me to forget the twisted, toxic sexuality that I learned in the lower vibrations of my early life here as a human, in my darkness phase, which was before 3 years ago. And I had to experience it. It was no mistake. And that I was told early on in the tarot that, yes, you're going to enjoy sex again. And I'm like, oh, there's no flipping way. There's no way. I swore sex off. There was no way I was going to ever experience sex again, because I knew I had to be with somebody who was extraordinary in order for that to be a good experience for me. And not because someone was not good or bad at making love. It was someone who was conscientious and conscious, who had slain their own dragons, domesticated their own demons, walked their own dark night, and who has an appreciation for this life and what it's truly for, and then that who doesn't wear a mask and the ego, it doesn't drive who they are. And how am I going to find someone like that in this lifetime, in these millions of false faces? I had just given up hope that was going to be the case. So this was telling me basically, you are going to enjoy sex again. And then these messages that are coming every day. And whenever I would look at my social media, which was twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, I would see a new message that would be a validation of what I really wanted in a love affair, which was, and this has started to what I started to speak this out loud. I want wild freedom. I don't want to be committed to anyone. I don't want anyone committed to me. I don't want to be married again. I don't want to change my name. I don't want to give up any part of who I am to compromise myself. And these are the 3 C's that I vowed never to do again, is conform, contort, or compromise. I cannot do that ever again. My soul has grown full in this body, and I cannot squeeze her I can't conform her or contort her again, as I had been contorted to feel accepted in every other relationship I've ever been in. So the messages were really to pump me up as a woman, to go into, to really step into my full essence, my full power as a female goddess, well, that's redundant, as a goddess, which is what I realized recently that I have become. And I haven't become her, I remembered her. And that's important, because we're all who we are when we come into this form, but we just forget. So I was just at a point where I was reminded, and my higher self and her team of souls made sure that happened. And when I wrote Resurrection of the Goddess, it was a testament to myself, the goddess who I always was and who I forgot I was, so I could relearn and I could show others the way. that's my purpose. So I'm being reminded of who I am through these messages, to stand in my essence, to not conform or contort. You don't have to ever again. The man who will be your partner will be able to stand on his own. You won't need to contort. And it was really repetitive. So I would get the message through this thick head and this brain, the mental body. And I started to talk about the bodies, the mental body, which is a whole other body than the physical body. And I had to get, what happens is when you go through this transmutation that I have gone through and continue to go through, although I'm in a more refined stage of it, it has to penetrate and integrate in all of these 7 bodies. And the bodies are these. They are the physical and vital, and that's the physical body. That's the manifestation of molecules and organs and everything that makes up this physical body. The physical and the vital bodies. And then there's the emotional or astral body. These are getting into the subtle bodies. These are the energetic bodies that are not necessarily housed inside of us. They expand outside of us. And then the mental body, which is the one I'm talking about, the causal body. Then there's the spiritual body and the divine body. These are the 7 vital bodies that we possess in this human form. And this is basically so we are always connected ethereally, even though our human body, our physical and vital body, is busy focused on this earth experience. It's almost like having an earpiece where the real you is speaking to you, and you may or may not hear her. So there are extra bodies built on top of this physical one, so that connection cannot be lost. No idea if that's right, but that's what it feels like to me. So all of these 7 bodies have to gain coherence in order for this centering or this rooting of the ethereal into the grounding of this physical to take place. And what that means is, in order for me to be my ethereal being, this blue being of light that I am without my form, in this human form, all of these bodies have to be aligned. Just like the chakra systems, the 12 chakras that are in and out of our body that expand above our head have to become aligned in order for our intuitive channel to open. And this requires that we are coherent in the body. So that is our energy, our heart, and our mind, and our actions. So that includes our thought. And our thought is the architect of our outer lives. And this is something that was so foreign to me. But we think our reality into reality. We don't realize it because we're not aware of our power. But this is how we create our external life, is from who we are internally. So, of course, as an internally turmoiled, confused, chaotic, lost girl, my outer world mirrored that exactly. And I only could call to myself people and situations in the same condition. And the purpose of that resonance or that frequency connection or attraction is because of what it shows you. It teaches us who we are by looking in the mirror of someone else who is just like us. Yes, they look different. They may come from different background, but they're experiencing technically the same issues that we are. So if I'm insecure, you're insecure. You may express it out of the ego through gaslighting me and through taking advantage of me as a narcissist would, but you're deeply insecure. That's how it expresses in you. My deep insecurity causes me to cower and conform and become a victim. So we're perfect together because now you can victimize me and I can be your victim. We are reciprocating to each other what we need to see. Now, whether we look at it and we're energetically inclined to challenge it, says whether or not we grow from it or we continue to repeat it. And this took me a long time to understand, but now it's just like air. I breathe. It is just, I know this. My ex-husband was my mirror, the empty, gaslighting narcissist who was so deeply insecure and afraid of being rejected that he created a facade or an image of himself that he thought was powerful. And that power caused him to take advantage of the meek, of someone who was susceptible to that to being taken advantage of. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the resonation. It doesn't mean that a butterfly attracts a butterfly necessarily, outwardly. They both look like butterflies. No, what it means is that an alligator might attract a butterfly, but that butterfly doesn't know she's a butterfly. So there's so much going on with this resonation and this resonance and this frequency. So if you don't remember anything that I say, remember frequency. That frequency attracts the same or like frequency. And if you are living in turmoil or negativity or powerlessness, then you're attracting that. And it isn't until you learn that and you start to understand that your thought controls that you can start to change a negative thought into a positive one. You can say, oh, I'm feeling negative about my friend who did something terrible to me. And oh my gosh, look, she's terrible. I can't believe she betrayed me. She did whatever she did. And instead say, oh my gosh, what do I have to learn from this? What is this mirror showing me? Oh my gosh, wait a minute. What's my lesson here? It got to the point where I couldn't wait to feel bad so I could see why. It's amazing how you flip the switch. So anyway, back to the messages, which were basically telling me, reminding me and validating how far I had come, how I had shed all of the scaly armor that I wore to save me from myself, basically, that caused me to have these experiences that I had, to let go of the false face that I wore, which I thought was beautiful and intelligent and genuine, who absolutely was not. Shyness is also the ego. Demurity is also the ego. It is a protective mechanism. If I'm demure and I'm shy, I'm not responsible for what happens to me. That's the birth of the victim. That's the ego. I had to reconcile with all of that. My empathy is a double-edged sword. It has a very dark side. My empathy wants to shrink myself so others can have more space. This is something I chronically suffered from. And of course was the reason why I was so badly abused and taken advantage of. And yeah, it's so easy and clear to see now. And that, of course, my sexual wound was a big part of that. My ex-husband took advantage of me sexually because I let him, because I felt comfortable in that role. So these messages continue to kind of just ramp up the vision of myself as a woman fully formed. And I didn't realize this initially, and I didn't realize it until things started to change, that this is what was happening. I would just take these messages in as a validation of how I was feeling. And how beautiful to be reminded almost every day that you are on the right track, that you are right where you need to be, that the universe is orchestrating everything. And all you have to do is follow your heart. And I'll remember this advice till the day I die. Eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, work when you're inspired. That is how I live my life, from my feeling center or my gut, my solar plexus, my intuitive brain, my ethereal brain is how I live my life now. I don't worry about how I'm going to feel about something until I feel the way I feel about it. And when I do, then I make the decision. This has become such a beautiful thing to have this expansive power at my fingertips. I don't have to worry what decision am I going to make when my income runs out, which of course I'd stressed about, oh my God, so much. What am I going to do? And then when time came and I thought I knew what I wanted to do, my energy said, nope, you're not doing that. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to get a job. Oh, geez, I almost went and got a job. I did not want to get a job. I don't feel like I energetically can. I don't want to be out in the world. I don't want to have to earn money anymore. And then I remember a tarot message saying I'm always going to have what I need. That's the message that allowed me to let go of my business and retire 2 years ago now. Congratulations, Gina, on the anniversary. And I had no idea what I was going to do for money. But here I am 2 years later, and I don't have to worry about money. I was guided by my gut, by my body, by my energy, by my soul self to not look for a job and to go into my retirement, because that's what it's for. Don't worry about later, Gina. You're taken care of. Remember, you'll always have what you need. It took me a moment, but I got it. I amassed this retirement somehow, and I really don't know how I did it. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. It seemed to come out of nowhere. I started saving at a job that I got when I was 34 years old, or 35, whatever I was, that I almost tried 3 times to get this job. I wasn't qualified according to them. I didn't know if I could do it or not. I just had no like practical experience in a job like this, a technical job where I had to use a computer. I had to go to a local community college and learn how to use a computer before I applied for the job. Got the job. Within a few years, I was a manager. I had a great career for almost 13 years at this company. Again, I don't know how I did it. It just came out of my, you know what? I don't know. It just did. I was really good at it. I became a trainer. I was a manager. I was very good at leading. I was very creative when it came to training. I created training material. I taught in new and unique ways. I was a great coach that got me into coaching, which I became a certified professional coach. Just so many things happened during those 12 years. And again, this is the slumdog millionaire part. I had no idea what I was preparing for. But when I was at this job, I remember early on that they offered a retirement, a 401k. So I just did what I thought was right. And I started to contribute as soon as I could, as much as they would match. And I forgot about it. I was making decent money. I was good. I was saving some money, not a lot. I was with my ex-husband. We were living our lives, building our, before we started our business, I left the job for our business, which I thought I was leaving to be a life coach, but another long story short, I ended up helping my ex-husband. We ended up building the business together for 12 years. But during that 12 and a half years at this job, quote unquote, I saved enough money to last me many, 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 many years into my future. And I don't really know how it happened. And I can tell you without doubt that it was part of my destiny. It is divinely orchestrated that I would have what I need right now. And I didn't know that I had what I needed until I realized you have what you need. Oh, you're not meant to get a job. You don't have to. That part of your life is over. We're focusing on something much bigger now. My role in this universe, my role as a star seed, my activation, my awakening, which put me on this new path. So these messages are validating all of these things that I knew, but it doesn't hurt to be validated, and it really helped kind of pump me up. And I wasn't really sure for what. I figured for the next phase of whatever's going to happen. And one thing I do know that's going to happen is I'm supposed to receive an opportunity that I'll know to take, and that in that opportunity I'll be taken where I'm meant to be taken, and everything that's meant for me will happen pretty quickly. So I don't really know what any of that is. So I'm just kind of feeling good about myself. Well, the messages that then were started to turn into love notes. This is right around December of 2023, last year. The messages were from my higher self, the higher self of my twin flame, and they were about our love specifically and our mission specifically, and what we were going to do together, and how our love was going to expand, and how the light that we create between us was going to heal, and how we were having this really ethereal, high vibrational love. And he was sending me love notes about how he wants to touch me, and how he not sexually, but how our touch is going to be so magnetic, and how our sensuality is going to be expanded, and how our sensuality and sex is going to be amazing. And these are not explicit things at all. They're on my Facebook page, but they are beautiful love messages. And some of them are paragraphs and paragraphs long. I saved every one of them. I didn't know why, but I have every one of them. I saved each and every one. I can't share them because they're of copyright issues. I don't want to share something that someone else wrote. But many of these feel to me intuitively that they're channeled by John through the author and meant just for me. That's how beautiful and specific and poignant that they are. I'll give you an example of one that was just about a month ago. I had dinner with my sister that we do that once a week. And we were talking about love. And she always asks me, are you talking to anyone? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not talking to anyone. I know what's meant for me. I'm not waiting, but that's what I want to experience. I'm not going to spend my time. I'll quote Drew Barrymore in Never Been Kissed, or what was it called? Is it Never Been Kissed? Oh, what was that movie? where she said, I don't have to kiss a bunch of frogs. I always make my daughter laugh. Anyway, I digress. Oh, darn it. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. So these messages are really meant to just expand. Oh, now I know what I was saying. Okay, forgive me. I had dinner with my sister, and she was talking about men, and she's going through something similar where she's had difficulties, and she's trying to learn about herself, and we talk about it sometimes. And we were walking out of the restaurant, and she said something about how she wants a man from a good home, somebody who's had a good upbringing. And I just I got incensed, and I just kind of blurted. I said, I don't want a regular guy. I want a, excuse my French, or I won't say it because then I have to mark this explicit. I didn't realize that. An effing warrior. I said, I don't want a regular guy. I want a effing warrior. I said, I want a guy who's walked through fire and has healed himself. And I'm like, oh, geez. And it kind of said it really kind of abruptly. I went home that evening. The next morning, I woke up and I looked at my social media, and the title of the message was, You don't need a man, you need a goddamn warrior. That was the title of the message, mirroring what I had said the night before. And this is how particularly specific these messages are sometimes. Not every time, but sometimes when they can be, they mirror what I say out loud. I said I wanted wild freedom, and in this message was the statement that this love is going to be wild and free. I said I want honesty and I want truth, and it was referred to in the message as radical vulnerability and honesty. And this is more than just this one message, but this one in particular encompassed everything that I talked about, that I want a radical vulnerability. I want a conscious love. And this is a term that I learned through these messages from John about conscious love, which is two people who have more interest in their own growth and elevation or ascension than in making the relationship last. So the interest is for me to be my best self, for you to be your best self, and for us to be our best together. And if that lasts because our personal independent journeys remain aligned, beautiful. But if that doesn't, because your journey of personal growth takes you away from me, then that's where you need to go. So I said out loud, I don't want a man to commit to me. I want a man to commit to himself, to be his best self, to be open to learning and growing and evolving, always a living and breathing work in progress. I don't need anything else from you. And this is the new vision of love that I have embraced. This is the new love that I'm going to experience. It's not, it even talked about how I want to bypass the honeymoon. I want to go directly to the meat and the potatoes. I want to know who you are, scars and all. And you don't have to hide yourself from me. You don't have to hide. I'm going to know you anyway. I can see right through you. And this was all mirrored in this message, all of this. It was one message. And honestly, as soon as I read the title, I started to cry. And I remember in the tarot a year or two ago, two or more years ago, that said, when you're listening to something or you see or watching something and it brings about a strong emotional reaction, it is a message from your twin flame. I started reading this message and I started to cry. It took me 20 minutes to read it because I couldn't see through my tears. I kept blubbering because the more and more I read, the more and more it was mirroring back to me exactly what I said I wanted. This is what my heart is being reconditioned for, is a conscious love. I don't need your fealty. I don't need your loyalty. I don't need your promises. I don't need your last name. I don't need your money. I need your presence. I need your radical vulnerability. I need you to know who you are, because you have to know who you are with me, because I'm going to know who you are whether you do or not. And that was also mirrored in the message. This is just who I am. My empathy is X-ray vision. It just is. I can see you at a soul level. You cannot hide from me. So this is all mirrored in this message, and in many, many these other messages, the same messages over and over and over again. And I remember saying out loud, I got it. And I put it in my article at the end, towards the very end, the resurrection of the goddess, that I now realize and I realized it after reading a particular message, not that one, that I am meant to be in my full essence with this partner, that I have to be in my full goddess power and not do the three C's with this man. I can't conform or constrict myself or comply or contort, not constrict. I have to be who I am fully, 100%, in order for what the light or the power that we're meant to generate together to be generated. I cannot be a demure, contortionist and be in this love affair. I have to be in my full power. So I'm embracing these messages and I'm feeling all pumped up. I'm like, okay, I got you. I'm ready. And then about 4 weeks ago, the messages started to change. The tone of the messages started to change. The loved ones were still coming. And I see my soul team at work here, how careful they are with me, not to change the tone or to disrupt what they taught me or validated through those messages of self-empowerment. They kept those coming as well. And the love messages from John kept coming. But what also came intertwined in those messages, I started to notice were messages about him and about the condition he might be in when he comes to me. And I remember saying out loud a couple months ago, because I was all pumped up in this goddess energy, I said, John, don't come until you're ready. Don't come until you're ready. I'm good. I'm content in my life. I'm enjoying my babies, my solitude, the luxury that I'm in. I don't need anything. Come when you're ready, but don't come until you're ready. And what I was saying to him is don't come, because I was expecting him to be exactly where I am, in this incredible energy of a God, in his full essence. That's what I thought. But these messages were carefully notifying me that that's not going to be the case. The messages started to say things like, men are taught to be providers and taught to disconnect from their emotions. They're not appreciated for their feelings. And then it would be then the love message would continue. These were entwined into love messages. But that a good woman, patient woman who will help this man realize his emotionality again, and only through that presence and that light and that love and patience and empathy will he blossom. I probably got, and I saved every one of these, I probably got maybe 5-10 of these before I started to realize the pattern. And I was sitting about a week ago. It was about a week ago. I was sitting in my living room and I, of course, had a realization. And I said out loud, I said, I see what you're saying. I get it. I'm talking to myself, my higher self. I'm talking to John, his higher self. I'm talking to my soul tribe, Oreo and the Emperor and the higher selves, who are my soul team, my family, including my daughter and my granddaughter, who are all soul presence. I said out loud, I see what you're doing. I'm getting the message, and I believe what it is that I am meant to be in my full power. And I am meant to be the goddess that I am right at the beginning of this relationship, but he may not be. And that he may need me to illuminate him with my energetically, my love, my presence, my patience, my empathy and compassion, which is what I'm wired to do, in order for him to get comfortable with his own emotions and to drop the facade, to drop the game, quote unquote, and relax into his self. And this is the gift that I am meant to give him, is connection to his spiritual self, to his empathy, to his emotional self, those causal bodies, or those vital bodies, the 7 bodies. This is what I meant. This is the gift that I'm meant to give him. I'm the spiritualist, the idealist. He's the materialist. He's been grounded in the material world his whole life. He doesn't have the same connection that I do. So I need to drop my ideal that he's going to be in his essence. I need to be informed of this so I don't get, and I use the word triggered because it's helpful, but it's not a triggering, but I won't lose faith or doubt that I'm where I'm meant to be with the right person, because this person isn't who I expected. I went through 24 years with a gaslighting narcissist, and I don't want to say anything negative about him. It's so hard to say anything negative about anyone anymore. I see the root of it, the insecurity. But anyway, I still had to have that experience. That's still the human had to go through that. So I may be triggered to think, oh boy, here's another one. But I was informed of this dynamic, so I wouldn't go there. So I wouldn't energetically have even the moment of doubt. So I can stand in my full essence for him. And I was told early on in the tarot that when we meet, and this was years ago, I've known about John for almost 3 years now through the tarot. And I've seen his picture. I know his name. I know where he is. I was told that once we meet, that we'll have an incredible connection. It will be magnetic. It'll be coming home is how I'm going to feel, how we're going to feel when we meet each other. We'll have this undeniable connection that neither one of us can explain. Of course, I can explain it. But that he may go away. And I remember thinking, well, I know he's from New Zealand. He'll probably go back home and it'll be distance that keeps us apart. I didn't know any better. Now I know better. What my gut is telling me and what these messages are telling me is that he will likely pull away out of fear, that he can't be his ego with me, that he can't lead with his ego, that I require a man who is vulnerable and honest and emotional. And he will have not had that experience with a woman ever before. And I don't believe, if I remember the messages correctly, he's never had anyone in his life who's embraced him for his emotions. And of course, this is the disease that men have to deal with, that they can't be emotional or they're considered weak, that they can't be spiritual or they're considered, not masculine. I mean, it's such bullcrap, but it is what it is. And this man, when he comes into my life, may very well be still trapped in that. And that is going to be up to me to stand strong in my full illumination. So my energetic bodies, my love can heal him. And I have to be patient and give him the time and space he may need to come to terms with who he is in my energy. So I said all this out loud. I said, I get it. I understand. I get it. And then I don't know, it was a few days later, and the messages were coming, but only sporadically now. And I noticed they slowed way down. I'm like, okay, now there's a message about me as an older woman. And this was the last one I looked at before I realized what was happening. There was another one about something having to do with bees. And I'm like, okay, that's not a love message. It's not. And I started to realize really quickly, okay, I learned what I needed to know here. I think we're done. And the last time I looked at my social media, this was, I think, 2 or 3 days ago, 4 or 5, I don't know how long exactly, within the last week. And the only message there was a picture of a lovely older woman. And the message was, embrace your age. Sweaty armpits and all. It was so cute. And that you are exactly as you need to be, and you don't need to be anyone else. Embrace this incredible time, and that mountains don't feel too old, and the ocean doesn't feel too old. Nobody tells them they're too old. They only tell them how powerful they are, and that is how I should feel about myself. And of course, the message received. And honestly, it's the one thing, as this alignment with this energy of him that I've been undergoing or feeling at a cellular level since this eclipse, since this dimensional shift, has caused me to kind of think about my appearance and my age, and oh my gosh, is he going to like me? And on top of that, the messages that the tarot messages talked about him and our age difference and how he's likely younger than me. And he may be very much younger than me, up to 12 years. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but all I know is what's resonating still from that message is he's 3 to 12 years younger than me. And the only picture I've ever seen of him is he looks to be about 40. And I don't know if it's a recent picture or not. I have no idea. Or if he's youthful looking, as a lot of foreign men are. I don't know. I have to be ready for anything. But it has caused me to kind of think about my appearance. I'm like, I'm 61 years old. I look pretty dang good. I'm not going to say I do look pretty good for my age, but I'm not 25 anymore. So I had a little bit of thought about that. And it's funny how I get messages that validate that as well. Another message is basically talked about cellulite and fat thighs and sagging skin, and the man in the message was saying, I see you and I love you. And he just kept saying to her, I see you and I love you. I see you and I love you. And she kept doubting him and doubting him and doubting him until the end he said, no matter what you think, I see you and I love you. And it's just another message to help me understand that I don't have to look a certain way. And honestly, it's beautiful that this relationship is coming so late in my life, because I really, truly have let go of the need to be an ideal of beauty. And that's one thing that comes with age, is you can kind of let a lot of that go. And I have. I mean, I mostly don't wear any makeup at all. And recently I'm like, oh, well, maybe I need a glow up. Let me do some work and let me get some new makeup and try some new things. And I just remember feeling exhausted. And yesterday I was going to order some new stuff. And I'm sitting there getting ready to click place order. And I'm like, what are you doing? I started to feel really conflicted about it. I'm like, what are you doing? And I closed the internet down. I'm like, no, I'm not ordering it. And I woke up this morning and I said to myself, you don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need to wear makeup. I don't need to wear certain clothes. I don't need to do my hair a certain way. My hair is gray, naturally gray. It's gorgeous. It's actually silver. It's beautiful. I'm beautiful, and I've embraced this beauty over the last 3 years. Of course, this is part of my reconditioning. All of this upgrade and the dropping of my old vibrational self, the iterations of myself in this lower vibration, she's gone. This new me is reborn in this new, higher, vibrant energy. So I've let all that go. And although I had a moment or two of doubt recently, up until last night, actually, and this morning I woke up saying, you don't need it. But the validations are there from my spirit team. They're like, you're fine. Don't worry. We told you. You're going to be older. Don't worry about it. He's going to love you in your most raw, pure form, is what I was told. So I trust that. So a couple of days later, after the message I talked about the I love you no matter what, not the last one I got yesterday morning, which was the older woman. I sat on my couch and I said out loud, I think I'm good, guys. I said, I think I got it. I think I understand what you need me to know. And I reiterated what it was, that I am to be in my full power, my full goddess energy when we meet, and that I may have to stand strong in my energy while he withdraws to reconcile himself. I don't need to heal him or chase him or cajole him or convince him. I'm just to stand in my energy, and whatever he does, I need to let him do. He may go away for a day, a week, a month, or a year. I don't know. But I'm told, and I was told this almost 3 years ago, that was going to happen. So I said, I get it. I'm going to have to stand in my faith and trust and let him be who he is. And when he comes back is when we'll start our journey together, is when he'll learn to let go of his egoic ideals about love, where he can learn to let go of all of his love experiences, which are going to be similar to mine, not necessarily the same, but similar, where he'll be left not feeling that love was meant for him, just like I was 3 years ago. We are going to be very similar in many, many ways, because we are of the same soul with different sets of experiences. So I said out loud, I think I'm done. I think if you're done, if you think I'm done and you guys tell me I'm done, I feel complete. I feel like I have everything I need for this relationship. And I took a deep breath and I said, I feel complete. And I said, guys, I'm going to say this out loud, even though I don't know, I don't want to predict or speculate or opine about anything that's coming. It's all divinely timed, but I feel like he's near. And I feel like you're preparing me through the last 6 months, because this is coming pretty soon. This is how incredibly attentive this guidance and reconditioning from my soul tribe has been over the last 3 years. They have step by step been right next to me, communicating every step of the way, everything that I was going through, what I would experience, what's coming to me yet in the future that has not come yet, that is supposed to come all at once when it does. And I remember I wrote it in my book. I said, no matter how many times I speak to my soul tribe and they respond to me, no matter how many times it happens, I'm still in absolute awe of this incredible connection, how incredibly responsive they are. So after I said that out loud, I just felt so good. I felt this deep stillness in my body, this incredible faith and trust in what's coming. I don't have to know what or when or why. It doesn't matter. I am completely content with exactly where I am, deeply grounded in the presence of who I am right now. When I'm with my girls, I don't think about anything else. When I'm at home working, I think about my work and what I'm inspired to do, and it's so creative and beautiful. I've created this body of work out of nowhere. This will be my 37th podcast episode. And in the beginning, I had no idea what I would do here. I posted my 13th article, and it is incredible. And my book just crossed over 100,000 words. I've been writing it for 3 years, chronicling everything that I'm going through, all of it from the beginning. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it. And it's just so amazing. This incredible book has been born out of this guidance and this love and this resonation with myself in a higher realm and my soul tribe. It is just beautiful. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous story. I hope it gets told. I don't know how, but I hope that it gets told. It's so beautiful. It's magical. It is a miracle. And I just am so proud and honored and privileged to be a player in it, in this theater, to have a role in it. And I get to give this legacy to my girls. My gosh, all I want is to inspire them with my life. So anyway, I told my soul tribe, I said, I think I'm good. Unless there's something else you need me to know, I feel complete. I understand conscious love. I understand that I need to be 100% who I am for me. And this is the mistake I always made. I need to know myself before I enter into a relationship with someone else, because I need to be able to navigate, and I can't navigate when my intuition can't reach me. I don't have to know what's going to happen in a week. In a week, I'll know, because I'll know how I feel. I can trust that explicitly now. So the next morning I woke up, that evening, it was the same day, I went to my social media as I always do, and I have 3 accounts, and these are the accounts where I post my articles and my podcast episodes. I don't post anything personal. I never have. I don't feel the need to do that. I never have. But I do post my episodes. I do have a personal Facebook page because you have to have one in order to have a business one, but I don't post anything on it. So I check those accounts when I get up in the morning, when I go to bed at night, right before I go to bed. And I check the accounts, and when I got to Facebook, and I checked, and all there were messages from the one community I'm a part of, which is the platform where my podcast is housed. I'm part of that community where they talk about podcasts and podcasting and the platform and all that stuff. Buzzsprout is the platform that I'm on. So I see a few messages from them, and I keep scrolling, and there's nothing else there. And I just smiled so big, and I said out loud, thank you guys for hearing me. I woke up the next morning, checked my social media, and again, nothing. No messages about aging, none from John, none from my higher self about my empowerment, my goddessness. They were completely gone. That was 4 days ago. No messages, not even one. This is how responsive this connection is. This is my ethereal connection to souls in the other realm. And I just want to make that clear. We all have these soul tribes, all of us. My sister gets multiple messages every day in her social media from her soul tribe that are mirroring her journey. Look for the messages. They're there. It's where you're looking is where they're talking to you. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't know your journey. I'm not going to pretend to, but it's so beautiful and brilliant. And I feel so imbued and supported and loved. And my appreciation for this life is just expanded. I say thank you to, oh my God, this is entertaining for most people, but I say thank you to everything, my house, my truck, every blade of grass, every rock, every grain of soil and sand, every tree, every animal, every insect, every bird, every life, every consciousness, my crystals and rocks. In my home, I say good morning to every day. My appliances, the electronics, everything. I'm surrounded by such love and support. And it's all based in energy. All of it. We're all energetic beings. We're all connected. And I don't mean just from here to the universe. I mean everything, everyone, every green life, every everything with a molecule feels. So and I hope this is true, because one of the messages said that your partner, my true love, will love the chanting from my ceremonies, that hearing me chant in my ceremonies will be music to his ears. And I'm like, what? I don't have any ceremonies. And then it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, when I say hello to the trees and I talk to my crystals and I say thank you to my refrigerator. And when I thank the elements, the earth, the water, the fire, the air, for this incredible life that they support in this form. When I thank the universe, my mother, Sophia, for this incredible life force that I get to enjoy every day. And when I thank Mother Earth for this gorgeous gift of life in her loving arms in this form, so I can have this sentient experience. And I can appreciate beauty through these eyes as a separate form, while knowing that I'm connected intrinsically and eternally to all of it. This earth is a being, and she is my mother while I'm here. Every nebula, every galaxy is a being. It's life. Every molecule-based is a life. And I talk to my water because I learned through the movie on Gaia TV. It was called Secret of Water. It's extraordinary. That water is affected by energy. Negative energy makes water die. Positive, joyful energy makes it joyful. So once I learned that, I talk to my water every time I pour a glass. This is my chanting. This is who I've become. And I it's funny. I talk to my soul team aloud every day. And I always said to myself, when I meet this man, I'm going to stop doing all this. And I told everyone, I said, when I say hello, beautiful, I love you, beautiful, that means everyone. So, okay, remember that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what am I talking about? I'm not going to stop doing this. No, this appreciation it pours out of my body every day. It is just who I am in this higher frequency, in this higher dimensional energy. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. And John, if it bothers you, you're going to have to get used to it. But what I was told, you're going to appreciate it. So hopefully that's the case. I cannot help it. In this energy of love, all I feel is love. And this is the frequency. This is the light that I'm meant to carry. This is why my energetic body is being expanded, so I can carry photon light. So my body can pull it in and carry it. And this is the light we were all meant to carry when we were originally placed on this earth. But that all got altered, and we became, our capacity became capped. We were meant to live 600 years. We were meant to have 12 strands of DNA. There's so much more that I won't go into now. But I had to be energetically expanded by the universe in order to carry the light that I'm meant to carry on this mission that I'm on as a starseed in this world. That's what this whole energetic ascension and expansion has been for. And my twin flame, John, and I together are going to generate the light that's needed to heal and protect this planet. And there are many, 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 many hundreds of thousands of others of us here now. This is the time of the ascension of this planet, the Aquarian age. The Piscean age, the Pisces age is over, the age of toxic masculinity. And it wasn't always toxic. I'm not saying men are toxic. We are all both feminine and masculine. We have entered into the Aquarian age, which is the divine feminine, where the elements of community and unity and love are going to be predominant. And it's going to take many, many hundreds of years for this to permeate the earth and humanity, but it will. In this new age, we're all here, the starseeds, the light workers, the gods, the deities, they're all here to help this earth, this beautiful being in her ascension. And just so you know, the tumultuous atmosphere, the climate is all part of that. the hurricanes, the volcanoes erupting, the earthquakes, the tsunamis. It's all Mother Earth stretching and turning and expanding. That's what it is. She is evolving, and we are here to help her evolve and to protect her and humanity and every life that she gave birth to and supports. That's the mission. So, as a good experiential transducer, I want to keep you updated on everything that I'm experiencing. And this is the latest. And this is the next step on this journey for me into this future with my twin flame. And I don't know when it's going to happen. I energetically feel my cells. I feel at a cellular level an alignment with his energy. I can't describe it any different than that. I feel like he's near. I don't know anything for sure. In the tarot, I was told 3 years ago that he's coming in June. And that was 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And June came and went. I'm like, oh, I guess. And then I would get a message saying, linear time has nothing to do with divine timing. You have to let that go. That it may say a month, but it could be 5 years. There's no connection to my linear mind and the divine timing and in a universe that doesn't recognize time. So I have no idea what or when, but it feels close. That's all I can say. And I'll let you know what it is that comes next. But right now I'm sitting on the top of the world in this incredible presence that I've been blessed with, this abundance of solitude and my girls and this incredible soul work that is just this art that I'm producing and this incredible peace and stillness and faith in my body. And I'm just having the flippin' time of my life. And I thank you so much for listening. You guys are amazing. And I hope if you have a comment or anything that you want to ask, please feel free on my website, postcardsfromasoul.com, or my YouTube channel, Postcards from a Soul, at Postcards from a Soul, and Instagram, Facebook. I just appreciate you listening, and I just wish you an incredible day, and I'll talk to you again soon.